Hi everyone, it's Linnea for LDRS Creative. I'm going to be making a cute little Easter pirouette card. And I'm going to kind of be mixing and matching and using the pirouette pattern templates to start with a spiral pattern and then fill it in so it's kind of like a spiral circular pattern. Now, my pirouette pattern templates are well loved and well used. I just like to add a little bit of adhesive onto there, and then I've added a piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch, so a regular A2 sized piece of cardstock on top. I have the spiral pattern template on top, and I'm using the Easter pirouette stamp set. I knew that I wanted to have my Easter eggs in a sort of spiral pattern, and I thought that I would start with the largest eggs and go out towards the smaller eggs, but the larger eggs were just a little bit too big for what I was visualizing. So I switched over and decided to just use the 3 sizes of smaller eggs. So I lined up my egg on one of those spiral lines and towards the center so that it'll be tight at the center and kind of spiral out. And now I'm just going to be using some ink, and I have LDRS Creative Pink 22 Hybrid ink. And I'm just going to stamp that egg. I'm stamping twice for good coverage, and then I'm turning my pirouette pattern template. Now, if you want to, you can unstick your cardstock and use those notches. I'm using the 4 1/4 inch notches, so those pinkish reddish lines. But I find it much easier just to adhere once and then turn my whole pattern, my pirouette pattern template 4 times. Then I'm going to unstick that and turn it again so that it lines up with the diagonal, and then stamp and turn 4 more times. I am an awfully clumsy crafter, and I know that if I peel up my paper and try to line it up with those grid lines, I'll find some way to mess it up. So any way that I can use, any little trick or hack that I can use to make my my process a little bit smoother, I'll use it just to minimize my human error. Now I've gone ahead and lined up that spiral on top of my cardstock again, and I'm using those little notches on the left and right side to make sure that I'm lined up correctly. I've chosen a second egg from the Easter pirouette stamp set, and now I'm just going to stamp and turn and stamp and turn. And this ink is the Parisian purple ink. It's a pretty light purple, like a lavender color. You'll see me now peel up my cardstock, turn that once, and because I'm using a rectangular sheet of cardstock, I'm only lining up those top 2 corners. So the top left and the top right corner, that's what I'm lining up with those notches. If you were using a square piece of cardstock, you'd line up all 4 corners. And again, I'm just stamping and turning until I have 8 eggs done. Now, it almost looks like a cool little flower right now, but these stamps are actually layering, so I will add a second layer onto here and they will turn into eggs rather than a flower, but that would be a great way to stretch your stamp set. I have the 3rd egg now from the Easter pirouette stamp set, and I'm just doing that same thing again, lined that up on the spiral from the pirouette pattern templates, turned my cardstock 4 times, and then shifted that, and now I'm stamping again. Now I have lined up the layering stamps, and I'll use slightly darker colors of ink for the layering. So for my pink, I'm using Fandango. For my purple, I'll use Mrs. Periwinkle. And for my green, I will use 4 Leaf for my layering. And I am using that pirouette pattern template just to make sure everything is lined up perfectly. Now here's where I kind of started filling in, because I liked that spiral pattern, but I thought that my card was lacking something. So I went ahead and just started filling in with some more florals from that Easter pirouette stamp set. So the basis of this design is that spiral pattern, and you could definitely stop with that fun spiral, but now I'm kind of filling in and making this more of a circular spiral. So you'll see the basis of this, those Easter eggs, are in that spiral pattern, and then I filled in as well with some little flower stamps. And here's the finished product. I think it's absolutely adorable. When I have a stamped background like this, I like to add some little spatters or something. That's just something that I personally love on my cards. So I have some gold shimmer watercolor, and I'm just using some regular water, and I have a size 6 round paintbrush. I'm going to load up with that gold watercolor and then flick that on. It's going to be very subtle when you look at the card directly, but when you shift that in the light, you're going to see just little accents of gold. Now I wanted to choose a sentiment, and you saw in the beginning that I thought I might use the special occasion stamp set, but I really didn't want to cover up a lot of those Easter eggs, and the sentiments in the special occasion stamp set are large, and although I do love a large sentiment, I wanted something a bit smaller for this. So I just stamped that you are, or hope your Easter is extra special, and I used the LDRS Creative Watermark ink. And now I'm using some gold embossing powder so that will match my gold spatters in my background. It's all done. I'm going to use my sleeve. You can use a microfiber towel, but I put down some anti-static powder before I heat embossed, so I like to just kind of wipe that away. I'm going to use the Easter Pirouette coordinating dies along with some low-tack tape my die in place, and run that through my die cutting machine so that I will have a sentiment that is perfectly cut out. And look how perfect that looks right in the center. I'm not going to need any other embellishments or anything for this card because that spiral pirouette pattern template in the background, that pattern, is the shining star, and then I just have those little bits of gold accents. That's my card. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you all so much for joining me. I have listed and linked the LDRS creative products that I used for this card below in the video description. I'll see you soon. Bye.